Hey, it looks like we are live in the GGC. Hello, everybody. I am delighted to be joined once again by the brilliant Jason Graystone, who is an author, entrepreneur, investor, YouTuber, speaker, and lots more. Jason, I'm going to let you share a wee bit more about yourself now, but we last spoke 18 months ago, and Jason was live in our business group sharing key areas of growth and his podcast strategy. And he was also live in this group sharing some personal things that we can all do to improve our finances. Now, that was back in 2024, but the strategies were evergreen and they are on the YouTube, GGC YouTube. So I'll link them below. But let's get into this chat, Jason. So tell us a wee bit about yourself, because I think when you're talking about money to people, it's good to show that you walk the walk, you just don't talk the talk, and you certainly do. So can you give us a wee bit of an overview of yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head when you introduced me, but I'm an investor primarily. Um, and basically, throughout my life, I became financially independent by the time I was 30 years old, through investing. And these days, I help people kind of see what freedom is and help them build freedom for themselves, because I think a lot of people think it's just primarily to do with money, but it's actually, there's a bit more to it than that. It's actually around your mindset and your daily tasks, and then the financial element as well. And there are strategies for each of those that you can improve. You can use to improve your degree of each of those to then have an overall sense of more freedom. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm writing the book about. That's what I teach on my podcast and on my YouTube and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'm excited to come and answer some questions and share some of that with you guys.
Brilliant. Okay, dokie. So the book, Always Free, this is launching on the 24th of July, is that right?
It is the 24th of July, yeah. It's actually available for pre-order now, but we don't want anyone to pre-order it because we want to try and smash the number one spot on Amazon, and we have to get that small window. So if you're going to grab it on the 24th of July.
Okay, well, I've shared the wait list in the pinned comment
Amazing.
video, so is that the place to go?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You'll learn about when to do, what to do, and everything there. Thank
Okay,
you.
brilliant. Okay, so let's chat a wee bit more then about the the book, Always Free. What inspired it? And what's the big message you want readers to walk away with? Because I'm assuming there's amazing strategies in this book that we are going to fill this conversation with as well.
Yeah. So I mean, the title "Always Free" initially just was a bit of a comical thing. Back in my late 20s or early 30s, whenever we'd have friends say, "Oh, look, do you want to go for dinner next week, or do you want to go camping, or do you want to do this or that, or go and watch a film?" And my answer would always be, "Yeah, yeah, I'm always free. Just let us know. It's up like your calendar. Let me know your movements, kind of thing." And it was always down to the other people's calendars, because I just kept saying I'm always free, and everyone after a while everyone was like, "Why? What's going on? Are you a drug dealer or something?" you know, and uh, and it became like a bit of a funny thing. Anyway, since then it's become more of an affirmation, really, of being free in yourself. So you're always free from societal idealisms, free from restraint, free from other people's expectations, free financially, free to choose to be who you want to be and build a life that you want to live. And and the message around the book, I've worked with people who, a lot of people think that they want to be rich, but actually they want to be free. And I've worked with people who have been born into wealth and had lots of money, and they could do whatever they want wherever they want, but they don't know who they are, and they don't know, they've got no purpose or drive. I know people that are good at earning money, lots of entrepreneurs great at earning money, but they don't know how to use that money to get them off of this kind of hamster wheel. So they're kind of got this ever growing, moving goalpost type pressure when it comes to money. Like they've got stress, and the more they earn, the more they raise their lifestyle and all the rest of it. And That's no good either. And then on the flip side of that, I know people who are really, really spiritual people. They know themselves really well and they've picked a job that they love, but they don't earn the money, right? And then they feel a bit unrewarded and they feel a bit trapped again, right? So I always talk, the way that I introduce this is when you were 7 years old, what was you doing? You was probably having an ice cream, playing football, going on the bikes or the skates, all right? And you didn't really have a care in the world. You had all the freedom in the world, but then the adults would be like, it's bedtime or you've got to come in for bath or whatever, right? And you used to think, oh, when I'm an adult, I'll be free as a like no one will tell me what to do, right? No one will tell me what to do. And then as most adults become adults, they become less free and further and further away from that 7-year-old kid. Further away from who they really are, who they truly are. And always free is a set of strategies to help you get back to being that in that state of true freedom.
I love that. And so you also speak a lot about financial freedom. So would you say that always free and financial freedom is a part of the strategy to being
Yeah.
always, and it's not about being
Yes.
rich. I love the fact that you say that. It's not about being a millionaire.
No, no, not at all. I mean, what always free is made up of is to be free in mind, movement, and money. So your mental freedom is about having clarity over who you are as a person, not having any kind of memory baggage that's holding you back from, taking the necessary calculated risks that you want to in life, not pursuing what you want to pursue because of a fear or some kind of guilt or shame, right? So you're free from external pressures. And then the mobility freedom is how you organize your life. So how you how you remove all of the uninspiring tasks, whether that's in your job or in your personal life, and then how you create a leveraged income to and a vocation as an extension of who you are as a person. So building a business, building an income, or building a living from an extension of who you truly are, and then not being tied to that geographical location or making it as kind of passive as possible. And then the financial element is just the underpinning that allows you to stop doing that should you wish. So it's basically that the financial freedom is how much time you could buy into the future if you needed to stop doing what you love, right? So really, if you are who you want to be and you're doing what you want to do, then really you won't ever want to stop doing that until you die. That you don't believe in retirement or anything at that point. But if you have an injury or an accident, or you feel like you just want a bit of a breather, having that financial element to just slow down and stop for a bit and take a bit of a pause is the final step in the final piece of the puzzle. And when you have all three of those, you feel you're always free. You feel you're in the best position to be the best version of yourself that you could possibly be.
Love it. So that was mind, movement, money.
Yeah.
Like it. Okay, so can we have a look into each of those kind of frameworks if you like, and maybe could you give us like a tip, for example, for each
Sure.
section?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the easy way to remember the kind of mind piece is as I said before, the word called mind, right? So memory baggage, identity clarity, the narrative that you've been telling yourself, the language that you use around certain things, and your discernment, which is advice from other people, things that you're following due to a culture or the norm or anything like that, advice that you've taken from people, right? So you can kind of score yourself
Mhm.
on each of those things, right? So from 0 to 10, how well do you feel you know yourself and what you're here for and what your purpose is and what you would love to do. And the way that you kind of strategize to come closer to that is to do things like, I'm not sure if I said this before, but if you open up your phone and just go through your camera roll and just look over the years at things you've decided to take photos of, there'll be a common theme. It might be animals, it might be the mountains, it might be sports, kids, whatever. But there'll there'll be a common theme there. And if you combine that with questions like, what would I do on Monday morning if I didn't need money? Or, if I was to ring up your best friend or your family and ask them what they go to you for, who you're the go-to person for X, what is that thing? What energizes you? What do you spend most of your disposable income on? Once you kind of piece together those questions and compare them with the photos that you take, you'll see a theme. You'll see something that you're just here for, right? With my wife, it is just animals. She is just, there's no doubt in anyone's mind. You could ask 100 people that know her, and 100 people out of 100 would say animals. You're the animal person, right? And that's who you are. Questioning other people. So just basically being able to take two pieces of advice that are polar opposite, and then asking yourself what the pinch of salt from that one is and the pinch of salt from that one is, and what of this information can you use in alignment with where you want to go in life. So having your goals and knowing where you want to go, right? So those are some of the exercises you can do in terms of mind. And then it's just watch your language, because your language dictates how you act. If you're saying things like, that's a ripoff, or oh, I could never afford that, or if you're saying things like that, you will behave the way that you're saying. And not only that, if you're judging things in the outside world, it will stop you from being able to take action when you need to display that trait in the future. So, I've never met anyone who's always nice and always lovely and always generous and always, we've all got all the traits, right? So if you're judging someone for being a certain way, one day when you have to portray that trait or use that trait, you won't want to, and it might stop you from getting to where you want to go, because you might need to be a little bit narcissistic to demand, to build a business, or to ask for the payment, or and all these things could stop you from actually getting to where you want to go because you've judged someone else, right? So really, really powerful. How you use your language can really stop you from acting the way that you need to act.
Yeah.
The movement piece, being able free and flexible in your tasks, and making sure that you're building a vocation that aligns with who you are as a person. The best thing you can do, first of all, whether you're in a job or whether you've got a business or in your day-to-day life as well, is do a time study. So analyze the 168 hours that you're awake for the week, and most of that you'll be asleep. Half of that you'll be asleep. And then the rest of those, just every half hour, just set an alarm on your phone. Do this for a week, and just write down what you were doing for the last half hour. You just take a note, just put it in a category. It'll either be like, laundry or toilet or emails or whatever it might be. And then after that week, you'll have a real heat map of how you spend your time, and it really doesn't lie. It slaps you in the face. It's scrolling, scrolling social media. So once you've got that, you can then prioritize, or you can list those tasks in order of what you love to do most to what you love to do least. And then you can start to prioritize delegating each of those or removing them, right? So if you hate cleaning and you're spending most of your time cleaning, if you could work out that might be 10 pounds an hour to delegate, well, that's the priority, right? Just pay someone to do that. You've already bought back the majority of your time, or 3 hours of your time every day, or 7 hours a week, right? And what could you do with those 7 hours? You do more of the things that you do enjoy, and you've at least got a list. So a time study is really, really powerful. And then once you're free of your time, you figure out actually you've got more time than you thought, if you're honest. And then you can start to you can do this in your job, in your business, right? So you create more leveraged income, because if you're doing it in your business, you're basically freeing up time, spending some of your profits on delegation or automations or systems or softwares that will remove you from doing those uninspiring tasks, which frees you up to do more fun stuff. And let's be honest, if you had two things, if you could just pick two things in your vocation or your business or your work that you would love to do every day, there's going to be one or two things. Imagine if you could just do that. You'd just love your job, right? You'd just be happy to do it every day, and you wouldn't want to stop because it's paying for your lifestyle, and you'll feel like This isn't work, and you can move towards that. I'm not saying you just do one, just abolish it all and it's all kind of binary. This is something you can gradually work towards and become more and more free and still and most importantly not feel like you've got to escape a 9 to 5 or escape your job. I don't like all that stuff because there's nothing wrong with having a job. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just about what you're doing in the job or what you're doing in the business, or that's really what's going to demotivate you and uninspire you and make you feel like you're not free. So the way that you kind of your day-to-day actions are really what you want to optimize for that level of freedom. I'll give you a real example. When COVID hit, right? We had everyone got locked inside their houses, but the studies say that everyone felt freer, and the reason they felt freer is because they were mobile. They didn't have to be tied into one cellular office or some geographical location. They could structure their day how they want. They'd proved in their mind that they could work from anywhere now because you could do it from home, and people felt freer. And actually, when they were asked if they wanted to stay at home or take a pay cut and stay at home or go back to work, 56% of them or 62% of them, I think it was in the initial year, they said that they'd rather stay at home and have less money, which to me proves that mobility freedom is more important than going to work and feeling that stress or that tie down or having someone breathing down your neck. So the final piece in the movement puzzle is trying to be able to do your tasks or your job from anywhere in the world. The more you're like a restaurant, you're going to feel very stressed in a restaurant because you're tied to one high street spot. You're reliant upon footfall going past the restaurant. You're open for a certain amount of hours a day. You're really capped as to how much you can earn, and you are stressed because you're working flat out all the time, right? So that's kind of the example of the least mobility freedom. And then the most mobility freedom would be just doing things that you enjoy from anywhere in the world, right? And the tasks that you're doing are tasks that you would do whether you was being paid or not because you love them that much. So that's the movement piece. And then finally, the financial element, the financial freedom comes from assets and assets that you buy or create. Now, the creation ones are systems, delegations, businesses that are very lean and automated and don't require much of your time and space. But also investing in markets, stocks, rental properties, whatever it might be, whatever assets that you're buying, and they yield an income for you. And really, what financial freedom is a measurement of time, how much time you can buy into the future. So the formula for that is you add up all of your liquid assets, which is assets that you own that you could convert to cash within a few days maximum, right? So they're very liquid, not like a house where you've got to wait 9 months to sell it or 8 months to sell it, but liquid assets. And you divide that by your living expenses minus your leveraged income. And when you do that formula, you'll get a number, and that number will be relevant to how much time you can buy into the future in however you get paid. If it's weekly, it'll be weeks. If it's monthly, it'll be months. So the goal is to get 6 to 12 months time that you can buy into the future, and that'll just relieve your financial freedom brain. And you'll feel amazing. You'll feel great if you can buy. If you knew that if something bad happened or the crap hit the fan, that you could live for another 6 to 12 months without having a panic, that it puts you in an amazing state of mind.
Nice. So, in the book, Jason, do you get taken on that journey? Does it start as exactly how you explained it there? Because I can see how you can go from like overcoming memory baggage and everything that you said, working on who it is you are as a person, what it is that you like to do, trying to be more mobile. Because I suppose when you work out what you like to do, whether you are in that restaurant job and you're not particularly mobile with your career, if you're buying back a wee bit of time and working out, what things could I get paid for that I love doing,
Yeah.
then even if you're in that place of work, when you've got that extra time, you can be leveraging more income and then moving into that space of moving towards financial freedom. It is definitely a journey, isn't it?
it's definitely a journey, and the book does lay it out in that order. But you're dead right. I mean, if you are in a job that you really hate and you just don't want to be in that job, then the time study is a great way of optimizing your time outside of that job so that you can start doing other things that you do enjoy. The question is, what do you do? Well, if you're clear about who you are,
Mm.
truly who you are, there's a lot of people spouting off the word authenticity at the moment. And for me, authenticity is really truly is congruency. It's knowing who you are. And once you have something, you probably tell with me, like I'll talk and talk and talk because I love talking about this stuff because it's who I am. I've lived and breathed this since I was 7. I really have. This is all come from a child who perceived to have a lack of security at the end of the day. And when you know who you truly are, you have no problem in confidence explaining things. You don't have imposter syndrome. You're just talking about something that lights you up. So one of the things that I've been talking about lately is to become really authentic. Imagine there's a camera on you 24/7 in your house, right? And imagine it's being streamed to this Facebook group and to Instagram and TikTok, right? And all the time it's streamed. Are there things that you wouldn't want the outside world to see? And I'm not talking about like going into the bedroom and all this kind of stuff, right? I'm talking about, are you congruent? Are you really showing up and being who you are at home as well? Like, are you talking about people behind their back? Are you talking about staff? Because if it was all being live streamed, the way that you would behave would be much different. You'd almost be forced to truly be you, right? Because you would be like, right, okay, I'm not gonna work with that person because that's someone who I would slag off behind their back, or I'm not gonna, deal with that person because I don't like that about them, and they would catch me saying that, and you'd become a real congruent version of yourself. And I think if you could ask that question, if there is something you'd like to hide, it's maybe something that you're not congruent with, something you're pretending to be, something you've got a shame or a guilt over, and you need to deal with that because that will unlock your ability to really confidently speak. And then when you can confidently speak and you know what you want to talk about, I mean, we've got platforms today that allow you to build incredible personal brands, incredible platforms. So you've really got no excuse at that point. It's just get out there and do it.
Yeah, and I suppose as well, if you're putting on a mask when you go out into the real world, if you're getting live streamed, you're no way going to be able to keep that mask on. So
You'll get humbled.
yeah, and I think sometimes you get that sometimes when you meet people who are maybe big on social media, and when you
Oh
meet
yeah.
them, they seem really different in real life. And I think sometimes then you almost get this wee feeling of not distrust, but your brain
Yep.
can't relate it to the kind of persona that you've seen online. So that's why it is important to be as authentic. I know it does get overused, that word, but as
Yeah.
authentic as it can be, doesn't it? I think it would make your life easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. It makes your life easier because you don't get burnout. You're not trying to pretend to be someone you're not all the time. You're not 2 steps behind. You're 10 steps ahead. And the moment you're incongruent with who you truly are, you'll have this little voice inside of you that will stop you. Let's just say that there's something that you don't want someone to know. Well, that's immediately stopping you from scaling your message, or there's going to be a point where you're going to go, oh, don't show that there, or don't show that there. You don't want to be in that position. That's
Yeah.
it's severely limiting. So
Well,
yeah, just really knowing who you are, unapologetically talking about things that you really are inspired to talk about, and not letting anyone or anything or anyone's thoughts hold you back. People don't do this stuff because they're scared about what people think.
yep.
And I mean, imagine that. It's not even like they're scared of someone slapping them around the face. They're scared of what they'll think, like telepathy.
Yeah,
And
which
the
they'll probably
telepathy
never
is
know.
holding them back.
Yeah, which they'll never know really what they
It's
think.
mad. Yeah,
We
yeah,
we
crazy.
talk about it in the business club because there's lots of women in the business club who've maybe been in a career and then they're launching their own business and they've got that feeling of, oh,
Yeah.
like John from accounts, like definitely might not be a John, but he's on my LinkedIn and he's going to see me doing this and think, why am I doing this? And it's you can hold yourself back from fear of judgment. So
Yeah.
I can see people with your book with hundreds of scribbles like everywhere, just like big notepads marking out their frameworks and how they're going to get to where they want to be. So like it's sounding good. So
One of the things with the book is it is heavy on frameworks because I think I'm one of these people that probably has ADHD. I've never been diagnosed, but I'm very much I need guidelines, right? So not being diagnosed or anything like that. I think I've naturally in my life become someone who has built tools and systems to help me see A to Z, because I need a checklist. I need a tick list. I need to know what it's out of. I need to know where the start is and the end is and how much progress I've made and when am I likely to hit the goal. So I think what a lot of people that I've connected with and really resonated with, what I've been talking about are people who need that. They need to know, like, well, what is financial freedom? When can I calculate a day that
mhm.
I could hit financial freedom based on pulling these strings? And that's exactly what it does. And I think that's really powerful. So I hope everyone's going to be scribbling all over the walls because there's tons of formulas and stuff in there.
I love it. So you have mentioned this. You've helped so many people because you've got a massive YouTube channel. You're on lots of different platforms as well. What would you say from the people that you have worked with, thousands of people, tens of thousands potentially, what are the common blocks? Like, so if they're wanting to get to this place of being always free
Mhm.
and you're working with them, is there like common things that are coming up where you're like, okay, these are the main themes of blockage that people have got?
Yeah, so if you was to look at the three freedoms and look at the problems and the mistakes that they make in that, that's probably the best place to start. And the common one is obviously caring about what other people think,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
it's worried about becoming successful, believe it or not. We surveyed, I think we surveyed just under 1,000 people in our community, and the biggest fear was I can't remember. Funnily enough, I can't remember what the biggest one was, but the second biggest fear was success. And it was like, wow, being in the limelight and being rejected by people around you and your family and all this kind of stuff. And it was really eye-opening because I remember thinking, wow, people are really taking their foot off the gas because they've got a fear of actually being judged for being successful, and that can hold you back. And we see this most commonly in lottery winners, right? When they win the lottery, and they're trying to buy approval from their friends and family, and they're just trying to get rid of the thing. I am normal still, I am still part of you, I'm part of the gang, and they just get rid of it, and then within 9 months the whole thing's gone because they haven't sat there and asked themselves, why am I worthy of this money? What good can I do with this? Why do I deserve this? How can I make the best out of this? And they don't do that. So caring about what people think, I think's the biggest one. What the mobility thing, what stops them from being mobile? I think just lack of, um, I think discipline on their time. Everyone's scrolling for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and 6 hours. I think 7 hours is. I heard 3 hours is the average, but I've just seen a report that said 7 hours, up to 7 hours scrolling.
Hey.
But even if you do 3 hours, that's like a month a year.
Oh,
That's a month a year that you're scrolling on your phone. I
yeah.
mean, I could do quite a lot in a month in 30 days, and I think most people could. So a bit of discipline. What else holds them back? What mistakes do they make with freedom? Probably the biggest one is they focus on a geography. So like, oh, I want to open a sandwich bar or a restaurant and they don't think bigger. Like I'm always a fan of saying teach the teachers. So if you're a coach and you don't want to be on Zoom calls coaching all day, well, coach people how to coach, and take that next layer up to relieve yourself of the clicky clicky So it's thinking outside the box, I guess, is is not a mistake, but a barrier, a hurdle. Just being able to think a little bit bigger picture, and not delegating. That's a big one. No delegation. If you're not able to delegate your tasks, your low value tasks, you'll never be financially free. You'll never be free because someone will always tell you how to spend your money for a start, but you'll be limited to how much money you can earn because there's only a certain amount of time in the day, and you have to be focused on very high profit work, high value work. Otherwise, the odds are so against you. It's unreal. So your tasks, you should be focused on things like selling, product building, marketing. You should be focused on those types of skills rather than doing a social media post or doing this and doing the emails and doing the thing. So as soon as you can delegate that stuff, get it out of the way. And then the mistakes financially is just keeping up with the Joneses, raising your lifestyle costs to just a gnat's cock below your income, that kind of thing, which happens everywhere. There's a story in the book called The Millionaire and the Paperboy, and it's a story about a next door neighbor who was on 20 grand a month and a paperboy who was on £11 per month. And based on their lifestyle expenses, the paperboy would spend some on football stickers and some on a can of Coke or whatever. And the millionaire next door, he had free cars, a private gym membership, a gardener and nanny, and all this kind of stuff, right? And it turns out that if they lost their job, both of them lost their job today, the millionaire would have zero point 0.9 months that they could buy into the future, and the paperboy would have 1.1 months. So the paperboy is actually more prosperous than the millionaire next door. So it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
And keeping up with the Joneses, and again, if you know who you truly are and you're not buying things to please and appease other people, and you haven't gone into a job to please and appease your mum or dad or whatever, you won't buy those things because you're like, I got rid of all my cars in 2019. I just hate driving. Like, I don't need a car, so I don't have a car. And if people are like, well, haven't you got a car? I'm like, I hate driving, and it's really refreshing and empowering to be in that position where you know that you're only buying things that serve you as a person, and you're not trying to keep up with someone on Instagram, or send your kids to school because you want to be that parent. That's crazy to me. I see us here for about 80, 90 years. It's just a blip. Like, you don't have enough time to do all that and get yourself into all that trouble. Like, just live your life and enjoy it. Like, don't worry about other people.
Yes, yeah, love it. Okay, so you teach a lot about investing. This is like a big thing. And I've been starting to think, well, I would quite like to get in about investing, but I don't have a Scooby Doo. So
Mhm.
do you think that, so firstly, do you think people need to be investing to become financially free? Is that part of the formula that they have to do? And secondly, for a complete and utter newbie that doesn't have a Scooby Doo, what content have you got that we could maybe
Mm.
utilize to get into it?
Yeah. You get financially free from assets, right? So basically, you want an income that comes in regardless of you. And you just put your money into something and that will produce an income and you don't have to do anything. That's true financial freedom as long as that income covers your ideal lifestyle costs. Today, the beauty of the beauty that the world we live in today is you can live a millionaire's lifestyle without having £1 million. It's all about income. And I think this is where people got tripped up with the whole property thing. So back in the day, buying a property might have been a good play for financial freedom because you could sell it 10 years later and make an absolute fortune and great, right? But a lot of people seem to think that buying a house is a good idea to become financially free. But what is financial freedom? Financial freedom is being able to pay for your lifestyle. That's it, and not have to do anything, right? So in order to do that, you need cash. You need cash to go and buy the avocado on toast and go and buy the cinema ticket or the fuel in the car, whatever. So you need income. Now, the way that you generate income today can be extremely passive and extremely mobile. So, in other words, you figure out how to make money anywhere in the world or from as many locations as you choose. And then once you've done that, you figure out how to delegate all the uninspiring things. So you're doing minimal tasks. So the passivity goes down. And then you've basically got an income coming in to pay for your lifestyle costs without doing much. You've got like leveraged income. The next step to that is to, so you're financially independent at that point, but the next step is complete financial freedom where you don't have to do anything and the money's coming in. And you only get that from investing in assets that yield a return. The problem with the approach is people go for the biggest swing first. They'll look at the highest risk thing like Bitcoin and they will try and jump on the Bitcoin thing and they'll put their money into Bitcoin because they think that that's going to get them financially free. In actual fact, you will if you look at a chart of Bitcoin since it came out, it's only ever gone up, right? So how the hell has anyone lost money on Bitcoin? The reason they lose money is because on those little drops on the way up, people don't understand it. They put money into something they can't, their mindset can't keep up with the growth of the money or the volatility in the money, and therefore they pull it out at a loss or they jeopardize the investment because they don't know what they're doing. All right. So if you look at the chart of Bitcoin, it's impossible to have lost money theoretically, but everyone's lost money on Bitcoin because when it starts crashing, they're like, oh, no, I'll pull my money out. And then it goes back up again. And they're like, oh, I'll jump back in. And it's this cycle where their mindset isn't keeping up with the rate, with the growth of their money. So I always say you have to earn your right to higher degrees of risk and never grow your money at a rate that your mindset can't keep up with. So you start on savings. You literally stash savings and you put 3 to 6 months living costs saved in a high interest account. Once that's there, you're going to unlock piece of your mind that will be a bit more calm and a bit more creative and a bit more susceptible to learning a new skill where you might look at an index fund or a large pool of companies that you can then start to invest into. And you know, if I put my money into this, I haven't got to worry because I've got 3 months, in the bank there. It's not the end of the world. And then you start getting your feet wet with that and you earn that level of risk. And then you might go, right, now I've got another 2 months, 3 months in there, and that's all working for me. Of course, your returns are going up. It's better than a high interest account, 10% a year. Now you go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to put some money into a stock, a large cap stock, a stock I understand. I use the product myself. I believe in the product. I understand it. I'd happily be part of that company. You put some money into there and you start to increase your returns. And what happens is you put the majority of your capital in the lowest risk, lowest return thing, and then you slowly deposit or allocate the rest of your money into things relative to how much you know about it. Does that make
Okay.
sense? So
Okay.
you might put 1% into Bitcoin, and guess what? You lose 1%, you're not going to be kept up at night. But if you're kept up at night, you've put too much in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you are kept up at night, you might think, actually, I want to learn a bit more about that. And then you learn a bit more, and then you've earned your right to 2%, 3%, 5%, and your mind will tell you when it's too much. And that's the way you should approach investing. And what happens then is you have this pyramid that starts to grow out because the higher speculative stuff grows faster than the lower stuff, right? So you end up with this kind of upside down pyramid, at which point then you just take the total capital and you redistribute it. You balance it all out again so it's a pyramid. And then you go again and you go again. And if you do that, there's no way that you can't be financially free. It's a bit like losing weight, right? You just burn more calories than you consume and you'll become slim. And with financial freedom, you spend less than you earn and you invest the surplus into assets and you will become financially free. It's impossible not to.
Okay, okay. So I'm probably going to watch that back, slow it down. Okay, but you do have lots of resources as well to support
Yes.
all this, and I'm assuming is there maybe a wee bit in the book as well about investing?
Yeah, there's a full section on
Amazing.
investing. So the book takes you through what I call the wealth method. So it's the want and the why, which is knowing what you know your goals, what you're after, what's meaningful to you, and then we go through expenses and expectations, knowing your numbers, controlling your lifestyle costs, and then it's asset accumulation. So there's a whole section on building, appreciating, income generating assets, and then we go through leverage, which is use income skills to and assets to scale, and then there's trading, and then there's hedging, which is basically the whole pie. So it's really easy to remember because it spells wealth, but it's those steps are in the book, and you'll learn all about it in there without actually me telling you what to invest in. I'll never do that because I'm not a financial advisor.
Yeah, it's and like you say, it's a personal thing as well, isn't it? If you believe in a product and you're using
Exactly.
it and also something that I've always wondered is there's apps that you can use for like investing, isn't there? Like is there any that you recommend or you're
Actually, there is a tool that I recommend called forecaster.biz, and it's a tool that I use for my investing. I'm starting to use it for my trading more and more, but it's basically a tool that has AI built into it, and it does the work that used to take me 3 weeks in about 10 minutes. So
right?
it has significantly increased my returns on my investments, not because it tells me what to invest in, but the amount of analysis that I can do means that I can get more opportunities. Whereas before, every 6 months, I'd sit down, do all the stock screeners, do all the analysis, look at all the financial statements. Take me about 3 weeks to pick a couple of stocks. Now I can do 6 stocks in a day, so it's phenomenal. So I definitely recommend getting to grips and learning forecaster.biz. And that's probably the only one, and then obviously
Okay.
you need a broker to go and buy the things, but yeah,
Okay, very good. Okay, so you spoke in TEDx last year.
I did. Yeah, I
That's
was on
mega.
TED. Yeah, I was talking about this concept of freedom, and it really there was a moment where I was in Dubai in 2023 and I was sat on a yacht with a couple of billionaires and a load of multimillionaires, and they're all moaning and bitching about either their staff or where they're trying to hustle to next or scale to. And I was recently in Dubai as well, and some guy was like, "Oh, the next step for us is 50 million," and I was like, "Why 50 million?" He's like, "Oh, that's just the next round number," and I was like, "But you've got to sacrifice a lot to get to that 50 million." And when you get to the bottom of it, it's because he wants to prove an X wrong or an old boss or something, and you think, really, I sat on that yacht feeling like I was the most successful person there because I was enjoying the view, and just in being present in it, and they all seem to be sacrificing today's happiness for tomorrow's profit, and it just never comes, because there's always a next thing and a next thing and the next thing. So knowing where you're content, which is the whole want and the why thing, is like knowing when you hit a certain milestone where you'll be content in life. That's so important to have. Otherwise, you'll just miss life. And I said recently, my goal is to have no goals. I don't want any goals. I just want to live my life every day like this for the rest
Yeah.
of my life, and I'll be a really, really happy person. Of course, if I feel like I want to go and do some goal now, that's a bonus, right? But I got to a point in my life where I was like, I've hit what I wanted to hit, and now I'm happy. Everything after this is a bonus. And the magic that seems to happen is once you get to that position, it's almost impossible not to grow because, yeah, like I've got a book now, and I wrote a book because I love writing the book, but no doubt that will bring more opportunities to me. And the TED stage will bring opportunity. It's almost impossible not to kind of snowball now, even though I'm not trying. I'm just out there just talking about the same stuff every day. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
you're just
so yeah, that's kind of what
magnetizing.
the TEDx was about.
Yeah, you're magnetizing the opportunities. I would love to get to the stage where I've got no goals. Would be very freeing for sure. Okay. So, as I mentioned at the beginning, you and I have spoke previously, and you've got a really good story on becoming financially free before you were 30. So you are living walking proof that everything that's what we've chatted about is in your book, all your teachings, they're all actually things that you've done. That's really important because we do see lots of gurus online, and sometimes behind the scenes, they aren't living the life that they're trying to promote people to
Yeah, right.
live. So yeah, I think it's really, really important to say that you are absolutely walking the walk. We have got a video from Jason about personal financial growth, business growth, podcast strategy, and now we've got a video interview about becoming always free. I can't wait to get the book. It's going to be, I'm literally going to fill my house with all my notes and I'm going to know who I am and I'm going to be hopefully financially free. And I think just bringing it back to that whole point that it's not about being a multi-millionaire. It's just about being happy in the life that you're living,
Yeah.
and being able to kind of do what you would like to do. Because as you say, it is a blip that we're here for. And actually, these billionaires who are talking about the profit tomorrow, they don't know that they're going to be here tomorrow. So
No, no,
being present,
absolutely not.
happy,
Yeah. Well,
love
look,
that.
I appreciate everyone watching this, and if you want to learn more about kind of if you're into you want to go on YouTube, I just recently had massive success with a video there, and I was asked to speak on loads of different marketing stages because what we did on YouTube, even though I've never placed an advert in my life, but if you guys in your group help me get this book to number one on the 24th, I'll come and share a strategy all around YouTube for anyone who's interested in that because that is amazing. It's an incredible world.
Oh, love it. Right. Okay. So tell us, we join the wait list now and then we
Join the
buy
wait
the
list.
book on the 24th.
Basically, remember, so if you join the wait list, we're going to send you a add to calendar, right? And the add to calendar will have all of the details
Yeah.
and it will be put into your calendar for the 24th of July. And then on the 24th of July, you'll see that add to calendar and it will have all the details. And basically, you just need to buy the book will be discounted. So the Kindle version is going to be 99p. So there's no excuse. Like get the
Yeah.
Kindle version
Yeah.
and we want to get that thing to number one, right? And if you're really kind, leave a review on that day as well. And for the 2 days, the 24th and 25th, we're going to really hammer it to try and get it to number one on Amazon. And
Yeah. So
if you
we're
part,
behind you.
yeah, if you participate, I think there's a on the link it will tell you like buy it, screenshot the purchase, leave a review, send us the thing and tag us in the like purchase or the screenshot or whatever, and we'll put you into a competition as well because we've got loads of prizes we're giving away and stuff like that. So but if you guys help me, I'll come and do the YouTube presentation for you, which I think you'll find really, really valuable.
Super valuable. Amazing. Right. Before we go, Jason, do you mind if I just ask you a couple of questions that have come in?
Sure.
So there's some great comments in the thread. Someone's asked, should we make sure we have no debt before we think about investing? For example, having a mortgage before investments.
Right. So so don't include your mortgage as a debt, right? So your debt, you have to live somewhere and it's going to cost you to live somewhere, right? You're either going to have you buy the house outright with cash and you're going to have opportunity loss cost because you could have put that cash into investments that will pay you an income. You're going to lose money renting to people because you're paying someone else's thing and all the rest of it. And you're going to lose money with a mortgage because you're paying the interest over the principal for about 7 years. You don't even pay any principal back. And, you're going to pay 3 times the amount of the house over the mortgage. So there's lost money in all ways to live in a house. So I never include a mortgage in a debt.
Mhm.
What I do include in debt is anything where you're like a loan, IOU, anything where you're paying the bank basically for store cards, credit cards, all that kind of stuff. Finance on a car, maybe again, arguably a car. But what you really want to look at is the APR on the loan. Okay, so if it's a low APR, like below 4%, you should start you should pay the like minimum payments on that debt and just start investing, right? Because if you're getting 10% per year on just an index fund, why would you not invest the rest and just pay the 4% on the loan, right? Because you're going to get more from the income. So that's that. But if it's like over 9% APR, you want to start focusing on paying those debts down before you invest, even in an index fund or something like that, because um, paying down a debt is investing with a guaranteed return on investment.
Yeah,
Because you put your money into an index fund and or a stock and it goes up 10%, or you get taxed and you get 7% income. Well, you don't pay tax on interest not paid, so you just pay the debt down and you've made more. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So you want to be making more just by paying the debt down. There's two ways that I recommend paying debts down. One's called a snowball, and one's called an avalanche. I didn't invent those. I do talk about them in the book. Dave Ramsey, I think, is the guy that invented the snowball, and you can go and check it out. But there's a training that I've done on it, but it's where it's a strategy around paying the highest one down first or the smallest one down first, depending on what one you choose. The snowball has a much higher psychological success rate because even though it's technically more expensive to do the snowball, it has a higher success rate because people's mentality, the way
yeah.
that you're seeing things get paid down. So it has a phenomenal success rate. So that would be my advice.
Very good. That was a total curveball there at the end. And we've got some lovely comments. And also, our Lindsay, she said something. I can confirm Jason is the most free person I've ever met, not only with his time, but with his attitude. So we love Lindsay. So thank you
Thanks,
so much
Lindsay.
for your time. That was absolutely brilliant, Jason. And we will all support this book and hopefully have you
Thank
back.
you. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Cheers. It's
Good
been a
luck with it
pleasure.
all. Okay, thank you for watching, everybody, and see you all soon.